Hello everyone, I thought I'd record a video newsletter this week. We haven't done one for a bit. And I wanted to talk about our ongoing space project and the sorts of conversations we're having around it. So Mr. Hick and Mr. Northmore have taken the lead on this and they've been arranging for this balloon to go to space. And as I said last week, we were considering the ethical issues surrounding travel, so space travel even. So the one of the issues is it right to kind of spend money on it when money could potentially be better spent elsewhere, and what do we mean by better spent? And the other aspect is about the environmental difficulties that happen should we lose a balloon, and how to kind of navigate that. And so we've been having a really good conversation across the school about actually, is it right to go? The conversation this week is more about the likelihood of failure. So we use a predictor that I sent you last week that says kind of whereabouts it might end up, and it's normally reasonably accurate. So we're not going to launch on a day where this is going to end up in the channel because it's a terrible idea. But there is no way of completely reducing the risk down to naught. There is no way of doing that. And so there are a number of things that can go wrong with this. And one of the worst things that you could imagine, I suppose, is building up a whole bunch of children to get really, really excited about getting this wonderful footage back and being part of something really special. And actually, we never retrieve the balloon for whatever reason. And so we've been reflecting on that as a staff, and then we've been kind of talking about that on a school level, which is what do we learn when we take risks? And we have been thinking about this idea of teaching failure, and we don't want to kind of experience failure after failure, but life will teach us failure. And at some point, something that you ardently hope for isn't going to happen. At some point, you are going to try your very hardest, the job you desperately wanted, the race you wanted to win on sports day. At some point, you're going to give absolutely everything to an endeavour, and yet you're still not going to win. It's still not going to be successful. And part of the magic of a primary school is people knowing your child inside out and seeing them every day and being able to experience failure in a safe place. And also, because that's kind of post the event failure, also to preempt, this idea that what's the likelihood of failure? Should we still do it anyway? If I'm worried about not winning the race, should I not race it? And we know, and it's completely human, we know that people feel like that and think like that. We know that people don't go for the jobs they want because they're worried that there's going to be a better candidate. We know that they might not give their all to something because they're worried that it might not pay off. And I think the lesson of investing absolutely everything you possibly can into something and it not working out for you is a very valuable lesson to learn within an environment where you're well supported. We know that there's a huge element of risk with this, and what we are trying to model to your children is that we recognise these risks. We recognise that we'll be really upset if it doesn't work out for us, and yet we will still do this. And most of your lessons about failure really are about how to deal with it. Whether you go again, whether you give up, whether it devastates you or whether it emboldens you to learn and to adapt and to change and to try. And to experience failure collectively is quite a good thing, actually. This isn't one person's failure. This would be everyone's. This would be something that we all desperately want to happen. And if it doesn't happen, how do we talk about it? How do we frame it? And actually, it would be a very powerful lesson for all children to go, okay, so that didn't work, but actually we tried. And that's really important that we tried in the first place. So my plan A, my plan A is that it works. But life doesn't work like that. And rather than learning it on your own, having never experienced really, really wanting something and it not paying off, we learn it together, and we can frame those conversations, and we can all share in that kind of sense of loss of what we expected and what really happened. So if the balloon doesn't come back our way, I mean, really, I really desperately hope we don't end up sticking it in the sea, because that's a whole different thing. We don't want to stick plastic in the sea, and we know that. But if we don't retrieve the balloon, let's say it gets smashed somewhere or something like that, or it ends up in someone's bin, you'd hope, like, would be maybe the best case scenario of like losing it and then not retrieving it. If we don't retrieve it, we will learn. And I think it will be really powerful, and I think it will still be a fantastic experience. And if we do retrieve it, my goodness, that'll be awesome, won't it? So if you're having your conversations around the dinner table with your family, you might want to think about times where you have desperately wanted something and it hasn't paid off, and how you reacted. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.